Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. My apologies for starting a little bit late. We are giving it a moment or two to allow more participants to join. In the meantime, please make sure that you hear me. Let's see that that you have your audio switched on loud enough to be able to hear me. If you are struggling, please make sure that you are using your device audio and that your speaker volume is turned up loudly enough. You will also notice that you are currently muted. This means we can't hear you, but we're just doing this to minimize the background noise as much as possible. If you have any questions, we will allow for a question and answer session towards the end of the webinar. So then you are more than welcome to raise your hand, ask your question, and we'll gladly answer it. Please make sure that when you ask your question, that you also unmute yourself on your side. You don't have to wait up until the end to ask your question. If you've got a question, more than welcome to pop it into our Q&A box, and then you can ask that question, and the team this afternoon will be able to assist you and typing an answer for you. I am joined this afternoon by Lizelle Jordan, who will be co-presenting, as well as Dirk van die Kerk, Gugulethu, Shirazade, and Kara. Dirk is from our learning delivery team, and Gugu and Shirazade is from our client support team with Kara, and they will all be able to answer questions while we present. My name is Suzanne. I head up client engagement here at Impact. On your screen at the moment should be our poll. Then you can just quickly let us know, when did you first register with Impact? We just want to get an idea of when did you start with us? Is it perhaps in Jan during the first term? Have you just started with us recently? It's always interesting to us to see where our clients are joining us from. If you are not a current Impact member, you are welcome, and hopefully this session will also help you in choosing subjects. I think this is the second last of these sessions in our series of webinars. If you've missed any one of the previous sessions, then you are more than welcome to either let us know that you require the link, and I can see that most of the clients have joined just recently. No, most have actually been with us for a while now, which is really nice to see you here. And then we have a couple of people who've joined us fairly recently. The webinar links are available on OLP under Resources, General Documents 2022. You'll notice that there's two files. The one is for upcoming webinars, where you can click on a link to join one of the upcoming webinars and to register for that. And then there is a list of recordings of webinars. Usually within 24 hours, you'll have access to the recording. Then you can just have a look there. If you've missed any of the previous sessions we've hosted, more than welcome to click on one of those links, especially if you're wondering about the mathematical subjects, the sciences, even the languages that we often get questions on. More than welcome to have a look at those webinars as well. But let's get into the presentation this afternoon. I'll quickly go through the compulsory and elective subjects. I think many of our attendees here this afternoon have joined us previously, so this is not new to you, but I will run through it for those of the attendees who have not seen this presentation yet. So learners must make subject choices at the end of their grade 9 year for their grade 10 year. And there's 4 compulsory subjects. So these subjects are non-negotiable subjects as part of the National Senior Certificate, and the learner wanting to achieves their National Senior Certificate at the end of grade 12 must comply to these. So the first one is life orientation. So all learners must have life orientation, and we do often get asked, but can't I change life orientation for something else? Unfortunately not. It's a CAPS requirement. So that is a subject that you need to have. And if you really look at the curriculum, it's filled with wonderful life lessons and also practical things that you should really take note of. Then either mathematics or mathematical literacy. And this will very much depend on the learners' career choice, what they are interested in, as well as their aptitude, obviously, for the mathematical sciences. But either one of the two needs to be chosen. And then a home language. One home language is compulsory, but a second language is also needed. Now, the second language is not on a second language level, but actually on a first additional language level. So the learner needs to have, for example, Afrikaans as home language and English as the first additional language. As of next year, we also offer isiZulu for all grades. Therefore, they can choose isiZulu as the first additional language, or learners can choose to have two home languages. For example, Afrikaans and English as home language, but a learner cannot have, for example, Afrikaans as home language and as first additional language. It needs to be two different languages. So those are your compulsory subjects that a learner must take from grade 10. We also offer a wide variety of elective subjects, and this is where the learner now gets to choose 3 subjects from the list that's on the screen at the moment. Anything from accounting and agricultural sciences to tourism and consumer studies, or the session that we're joining this afternoon, the arts, something like visual arts or dramatic arts. The importance of subject choices should not be underestimated. You would first need to ask the learner, what are they interested in? Because grade 9, so young still to really make a big career choice. But what a learner is interested in gives you a really good idea of what the path is that they would like to take someday. Even more important is that once they've identified these interests, it's really important for them to go and do homework, a lot of homework on what it is that they are interested in and what are the possible fields that they can go into with regards to those interests. And this could be quite a wide variety. Does it mean I need to go and study after school? Would it be a kind of a vocational study that I do? Or do I actually need university acceptance, in which case I need to be aware of the course requirements in relation to my AP score, as well as the subject combination that that particular course requires of me, and then also the marks that I need to receive in a particular subject. If a learner wants to study medicine, then obviously there's a minimum requirement for that in terms of their AP score, in terms of must-have sciences and mathematics, physical science and mathematics, and they need to acquire a particular mark for that. That on its own does not give a learner entrance to a university, and many universities also require learners to write a particular entrance examination. But your starting point would be to do your homework in terms of that career path is what I'm interested in, what are the various courses, and what are the requirements for those courses for that particular university. The universities also sometimes differ from one another, where a particular BCom at a university will require of the learner to have accounting, another may not, or will offer a bridging course. So have a look at those when trying to decide what the learner wants to do after matric. We do have a program available, the Career Compass. I think it's 95 Rand. It's really inexpensive. It does not replace an educational psychologist who actually sits with your child and does a formal psychometrical test. However, the Career Compass at that kind of price point is a quick online test the learners can do, and they can actually see these are the types of things that shows I'm interested in a particular career path. So that might be a nice entry point for your child now already to just get an idea. I know from experience that with my son, it was a journey to have a look at what the possible career paths is, and maybe they have their heart set on a particular thing. And then it is necessary to look at all of those requirements at the universities to help them choose. That career compass is available on our Optomy Plus store. The link is on the screen at the moment, and it's a very quick 30-minute questionnaire available in either Afrikaans or English. How do I choose my subjects? So there's different types of subjects that can be chosen from. We grouped this together, not in terms of if you take a particular subject in this group, you have to take only subjects from that particular group. It's not like the old streams that it used to be in schools. But this gives you a good idea of the grouping of the subjects in terms of what falls under mathematical studies, sciences and technologies, what would resort under business and management studies. So those are the kinds of groupings of subjects that we have. And if your child is interested in business, then accounting, business sciences, economics, those are the kinds of subjects that they are looking at. If they are interested in the arts, you are in the right place this afternoon to hear more about dramatic arts and visual arts. I'm going to hand over to Lizelle Jordan. Lizelle is going to take you through the art subjects this afternoon. Thank you, Lizelle.
Good day, everyone. My name is Lizelle Jordan. So we will just be having a look at our two elective subjects, which is visual arts and dramatic arts. So the learners did do creative arts in grade 7, 8, and 9. This now falls away. And if they are interested in one of the art subjects, these are the two that we have. Right, so if we look at some of the advantages and the disadvantages of the subject, right, so when a learner takes visual arts and dramatic arts, obviously these are creative subjects, so this sparks and fosters a learner's creativity and also a passion. So the learners obviously have to have a passion for the art subjects. Right, there are also some career options that we will have a look at now. And these subjects also help the learners with discipline and to develop skills, unique skills, technical skills. If we do look at the disadvantages, so the subjects are very time consuming. You cannot just quickly do a sketch and quickly do your art in one afternoon, unfortunately. And a lot of people forget that these subjects, both visual arts and dramatic arts, also has a theory component, right? So it's not just practical, right? And then you also have to have an assessor. So it does help to have a qualified, experienced teacher to help the learners with these subjects. Right. So if we look at the careers, as you can see, they are for visual arts. You can become a full-time artist, maybe a photographer. You can teach, a teacher at a school, even a lecturer. There are also some careers that's a little bit more focused on design. So that could be like an interior designer, if you're interested in maybe fashion, industrial design, even architecture. And then for dramatic arts, so the careers here include becoming an actor or actress, a presenter on the television. You can also work in film or theatre, and then also becoming a teacher or a lecturer. Right, so first of all, for visual arts, what is visual arts? Right, so it usually, the learner is going to create, so they will be creating either 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional artworks, and this starts with the conceptualization. So the learner is going to start with a topic and work with the topic that they are provided, so a specific theme, and they're going to generate ideas based on this theme, right? And so areas here, so like we said, it's the creation, so that's the conceptualization. And then the idea that they have formulated, it goes over into making the artworks. So those will be drawings, like we said, 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional artworks, right? It also includes safe practice, being able to use, let's say if the learners are doing liner prints, knowing how to use specific machines or photography, right? And then we also have to remember that visual arts also include the theory, like I said, and this is what we call visual literacy. Right, so if you have a look at the theoretical component, so for grade 10, 11, and 12, we do theory in all 3 grades. Right, so some of the topics that you'll see here, which is included, visual literacy, there's a whole chapter on visual literacy, which includes things like the art elements, so what is line, shape, form, composition, things like that. African art, there's ancient civilizations, the classical world, so where they will look at Roman and Greek art, and the Renaissance and Baroque. Right, then in grade 11, there are also some of the topics, the 19th century, modernism, the world wars. So that includes art movements like surrealism, Dada. Right, and there's also new media, so which includes like multimedia, installation art, photography, land art. Right, and in grade 12, we only focus on South African artists. Right, so there's also a chapter on resistance art, multimedia, also new media, gender issues, and architecture. Right, so the other part of the subject is the practical. Right, so for grade 10 to 12, they do PATS, right? So it's the practical assessment task. And there's one that they do in term 1, another one that they do in term 2. And then there's one practical examination, which is done at the end of the year. Right, so we've got the conceptualization, that's the source book. Right, we'll have a look at some of the images now. So what does a source book look like? And then the final artwork. Okay, and then for visual arts, grade 10 and 11, the PATS, as well as their practical exam, must be assessed by a competent assessor. Right. And then for grade 12, you have to have an impact approved assessor to mark the work. Right, so here is just a few examples of a source book. So as you can see, a front page, there's drawings included. So this is the book where the learner puts in all the work done for the term. So this will consist of a rationale that they write to tell you what the artwork is about. They will do a collage where they paste all their photos, their references that they collected. As you'll see on the right, there's an artist that they research, and they include some images of the artworks. And then they also include all their drawings, all the experimentations. So you'll see some drawings here, writings, their own photographs. There at the top, you can see an example of a mind map. Right, so the source book is all the work that they do. Right, and they also write a reflection, which is also added in the source book. Right, and then we've got some examples of the artwork. So this is the second part. The first part was the source book. The second part is the final artwork. Right, the final artwork, the learner can usually choose in which medium they would like to complete. So it could be a pencil sketch, coloring pencil, could be a painting, and you'll see there at the bottom as well, even sculpture. Right, the learners have other options. They could do photography, lino printing, silkscreen. Right, it's up to them. Right, so if we have a look at dramatic art, firstly, what is dramatic art? Right, so it's a study of the representation of the human experience for an audience. So here it's practical skills, and then also the study of dramatic practice, processes, and products. Right, so the learners will learn things like improvisation, vocal and physical communication, interpretation, the creation and presentation of performances, and analysis of performance text in context. Right. So the learning areas, there's personal resource development, acting and performance, performance text in context, and theatre and or film production. Those are the four. Right, so dramatic arts also help the learner with skills like cooperation, collaboration. Right, so in some of the practical tasks that they do have to perform, they have to work with another learner, and some would be like a monologue where they would perform by themselves. Right, so we also have our two sections. So the first one would be the practical and then the theory. Right, so in the practical, for grade 10 to 12, learners perform 3 different PATs, and those are 3 different performances, right, that they are going to do. So that is 1 per term. Okay, and then for each of these PATs, they also have a written component. So in the written components, they will do a little bit of research about what they're performing. Let's say it's a specific play that they have to go and research, where they might have to write a summary or just to say what the play is about, right? And the same with visual arts. For dramatic arts, grade 10 and 11 PATs and their practical exams must be assessed by a competent assessor. And then for grade 12, yet again, an impact approved assessor. Right, so if you're interested in the theory, we're just going to quickly have a look at some of the topics that will be covered in grade 10, 11, and 12. So for grade 10, there's physical and vocal communication, Greek theatre, South African theatre is covered, medieval theatre, performance text in context, cultural performance, oral tradition, staging, and film conventions. Then in grade 11, physical and vocal work, focus a little bit more on acting, text, and performance, realism, essay theatre, Elizabethan theatre, poor theatre, and the role of the director and the designer. Right, grade 12, movement, vocal and acting skills, performance and behind the scenes, 20th century isms, absurd theatre, essay theatre, creation, interpretation, and reception of play texts. Right, so just a few tips. Right, so if you are interested in visual arts and dramatic arts, you really have to put in a lot of time and effort, right? And you really have to love the arts. And then also, like we say here, that the theory work is a really important part. So don't think that if you're good at drawing, that this might be the subject for you. You also have to take into consideration that there is a lot of theory that you have to study, right? And then in visual arts and also in dramatic arts, you have to be able to write an essay, right? And then we would suggest that a tutor will help, definitely help when taking these subjects.
Thank you, Lizelle. I hope that answers our parents' questions. I did see a question coming through, but I think it was from earlier on that asked specifically about visual arts and dramatic arts, whether it's one subject or two subjects. But hearing what Lizelle described this afternoon, you can clearly see that it is two different subjects. So we have, like I've said, we've got a couple of webinars in this series. We have only one more of the webinars left over from our series of webinars. So if you've missed any of the previous, I know that in the chat box, the link was also shared for any of the previous webinars that you might have missed, but the service subjects are tackled on the 18th. This will be a jam-packed session regarding consumer studies, hospitality studies, tourism, CAT, IT. So do feel free to join that session on the 18th of August. As always, you're more than welcome to give us a call on our 087 number, or you can send an email to info@impact.goza, visit our Facebook group. I know that visual arts and dramatic arts both have their own closed groups that you can join to get a little bit more info there as well, and support from other parents, or you can visit our website to keep you informed on anything that happens at Impact, or join free webinars like these.